let's make a trade for some more Beatles gear. What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Guitar Gear Trader. I am Steve, coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee, and thanks for being with me today. And before we get into the trade and the guitar that I acquired, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, make a comment on the video, let me know if you like the content or not, let me know if I got a good trade or not, and how you would do it any different if you could. So today, I want to talk a little bit about a trade that I recently made for a piece of Beatles gear. You all know that I'm a big Beatles fan. If you watched previous episodes, I had some interviews with some big Beatle YouTubers, my buddy Paul over at Guitar Gear Connection, and we talked a lot about guitars that we own that are either replicas or signature guitars of ones that the Beatles played. I tried over the years to get as many of these things as I could, and then sometimes you trade them away, sometimes you get them back. I'm in a position now, thankfully I'm blessed that I'm able to have a lot of the gear and keep a lot of the gear that I've wanted over the years, and I got myself a really cool little Beatles collection that I've amassed over the years. I still have more things that I want to get my hands on. I still want to get my hands on a Hofner Beatle bass and a couple of other things, a couple of Rickenbackers that I have my eye on. But today I was able to trade for a guitar that I recently had on the show, and that guitar that I recently had on the show, and it was this PRS 408 with this gorgeous flame maple 10 top that was on it, that I was able to trade with somebody on Facebook for another PRS that I had. And I'll link that episode down below because I did a whole episode on how I acquired this particular PRS guitar. It's a great guitar. It has lots of tonal options for it. There are 4 coils that you can split or keep them as humbuckers, and it has a 3-way blade switch, which gives you lots of different options. But as a PRS, it's just one of those things that I may not play a lot. So I decided that maybe I should trade that for a guitar that maybe fits into my collection better. And the thing about it is it's the one Beatles guitar that I probably could do without. And I don't necessarily like signature model guitars, but this one to me feels a little different. I don't know if it's going to hang around. I'll be very honest. My brother said this to me. It's like, oh, it's your favorite guitar until you trade it. So I don't know if it's going to hang around. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. The reason for that is probably a little selfish, but this is the guitar, and it's a pretty new. It's a 2023 George Harrison Duo Jet. Now this isn't just your run-of-the-mill Duo Jet. This is actually the George Harrison signature model. It's absolutely mint. The guy who I got it from hardly played it, and he still has the plastics on the pick guard and on the plastics on the back. Still has the plastic that coverings on that. The guitar is absolutely mint. Now why would I not be confident that this is going to stick around? Number one, it's not an American made guitar, and I've kind of made it my business to only buy American made guitars. This guitar is made in Japan. However, the craftsmanship of these Japanese Gretsches are just as good, if not better, than anything being made in the States. The problem with vintage Gretsches is that they have a lot of binding problems, and the ones that the Beatles played tend to be priced a lot higher than other vintage Gretsches. You can actually get your hands on some vintage Gretsches for not insanely crazy prices. You're probably looking you can probably get a vintage Gretsch cheaper than you could get a new Gretsch for in some cases, depending on the model you're looking for. But the ones the Beatles played, especially this one, because this one was a 57 model. The other Gretsches that the Beatles played, they were 60s models, and in the 60s they had binding issues where the binding would react with the interior of the cases, and it would deteriorate and make the binding rot out. I'm lucky enough, I have two Gretsches on the wall over there from 1964. Both of those are 1964 Gretsches, and neither one of them, knock on wood, have any binding rot. So the people must have not had them in the cases very much. But this guitar, I've had 2 or 3 of these in the past, but not George Harrison models. I've had the ones right off the shelf, the standard Gretsch Duo Jets, and they are different. Normally, Duo Jets have mahogany, natural or unstained backs. But on George's actual guitar, they hand painted the back of his guitar like with a paintbrush, or maybe they sprayed it, but it didn't look very nice. When the people over at Gretsch actually got their hands on George's actual guitar so that they can take measurements and stuff, they noticed how horrible of a finish it was, and it looked like they just, you know, either spray canned it or painted it with a brush, because the back is not supposed to be black, and on his original the back was not black. So his team, you know, maybe his manager painted it black, probably because it would look better on TV. I know they did a similar thing with John Lennon's original Rickenbacker 325. His original Rick was a natural color wood, and they painted it black. And the model itself, really super duper light. Has all the cool features. It even has this, which they don't mention. This button here is in the wrong place. It's supposed to be in the middle of the Bigsby. Now, what they found out when they were taking measurements of George's guitar was that the Bigsby was not original. The Bigsby was added on most likely at Manny's Music. This guitar would have come with a normal tailpiece that had a G in it, and it was a string through tailpiece, no Bigsby. Whoever the original owner, when he bought it, had Manny's install the Bigsby onto it, and instead of putting the strap button through the middle of the Bigsby, they moved it up here, and there are extra holes. I don't know, I don't think they did it on these models, but if you look at George Harrison's actual guitar, when they took the Bigsby off, there were lots of holes in it, because the holes in the original tailpiece didn't match up to the Bigsby one, so they had to make extra holes. So there's lots of holes there, and this was put here instead. So this normally should be in that middle hole in the Bigsby, but on George's guitar it was there, and I think that's a really cool touch that they put that there, just like George's. So like I said, I would love to have a real 57 one of these, and they're out there. They're not as rare as you might think. You can find 57 Gretsch Duo Jets that have these same appointments, but with the original tailpiece. There were actually 2 of them on Facebook Marketplace not too long ago, maybe 4 or 5 months ago. Somebody had 2 of them. The same guy was selling both, and I think he wanted like $13,000 for the pair, but he wouldn't split them up. He would not split them up for anything. I could have maybe traded or sold a couple of guitars to get one of them, but again, this was not played. George isn't, like, he's known for playing this. Obviously, he's got a signature model of it. But when you see pictures of George Harrison with the early Beatles, when they came to America, he's got the Big Country Gent and he's got the Tennessean, which are those 2, large hollow body Gretsches. You don't see him a lot with this guitar, and that doesn't take away from this guitar. This guitar is really cool. It's just not it's not the iconic one, but for a collector and for someone who's a big Beatles fan and collects Beatles guitars, this is a must-have guitar. So if you are interested in it and you are willing to, pay me some good dough for it, I'd be willing to sell it to you. I'm obviously not going to sell it to you for what Sweetwater's going to sell it to you, because it's used. But if you're interested in it, or if you want to trade me for something really cool, drop me a line in the comments or drop me a message. You can email me at guitargeartrader@gmail.com, and make sure you follow me on Instagram at guitargeartrader. I appreciate that too. So yeah, if you want to get your hands on this and you're looking to get one of these, let me know before I trade it away for maybe a real one or something like that. But for now, we're going to hold on to it. We're going to keep it in the collection. We're going to put it with the other Beatles style guitars that I have. This one and the Strat, the Sonic Blue Strat, are the only ones that aren't necessarily vintage. These are newer guitars. The other ones, those two Gretches, like I said, are 64s. We have this ES330. Yeah, that's the closest I'm going to get to a casino, and I can't get rid of that one. I just can't do it. I tried getting a casino. I couldn't find one I liked, but I love that guitar, and it's the closest. It's the exact same guitar with the different headstock. And then I have John Lennon's J160E acoustic from 1967 too. So until I can afford a real vintage one of these, I think this is going to stay in the collection. So let me move the camera around, and I'll give you some sound bites. Well, there you have it, everybody. There's my review of the George Harrison Signature Duo Jet. I appreciate you guys watching and sticking around to the end. Hopefully I gave you some insight into the guitar, into the model, into the history of the guitar, and why it's such a special piece. So do me a favor, hit subscribe, hit the bell, make a comment, tell me how I did, tell me if you like it, tell me if you don't, tell me if you want to buy it. Follow me on Instagram at Guitar Gear Trader, email me at guitargeartrader@gmail.com. And until next time, happy trading, everybody, and I'll see you later. Peace out. Have a great day.